There were a lot of headlines coming out of Bahrain after that first race, but Carlos Sainz and Ferrari have got to be one of the main ones, considering the massive driver moves they made in the off-season. So let's have a look at Carlos Sainz's drive in Bahrain and his chances for the rest of the season, as well as whether this could end up hurting Ferrari. Unless you've been living under a rock, then you will know that the biggest headline of the off-season was Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari for the 2025 season. While everyone began imagining Lewis in that red race suit, with Tifosi screaming his name, there was one man that was forgotten. Carlos Sainz was left without a seat. We knew for most of 2023 that there were disagreements between Sainz and Ferrari on the length of any contract extension. The Spaniard wanted a long-term deal, but Ferrari did not want to commit and they were happy to move on from Sainz. So not only did it mean that Sainz would be leaving Ferrari, but it also meant that he was not guaranteed a seat in the sport next year. He became one of the drivers this year that was racing for his seat and hoping that he could still land in a competitive car like Ferrari. The pressure is certainly on for Carlos Sainz this season. He knew that heading into the first race of the season in Bahrain and yet put on a brilliant performance. While he did top the final practice session, no one knew whether Sainz would be able to put that pace into practice. Well, having set the fastest time in Q1, it was clear that Sainz had good one-lap pace. He just needed to show whether that could be enough to contend. The Spaniard would put his Ferrari fourth on the grid, exactly 1/10 of a second behind his teammate, who was on the front row. It was a good qualifying result, but Sainz really shined in the race itself. Sainz was the fastest man not in a Red Bull car, and it paid off massively for the Spaniard. In part, thanks to two brilliant overtakes on his teammate Charles Leclerc, Sainz finished third and secured a podium for Ferrari. Sainz would finish more than 14 seconds ahead of his teammate and didn't have too much of a struggle towards the end of the race. While he was overtaken by Sergio Perez, Sainz kept the Red Bull in view and finished just a couple of seconds behind Checo. Overall, it was a phenomenal race for Sainz. Finishing third was a great result for him, but it was the way that Sainz went about the race that was most impressive. He showed an aggressive nature that we haven't really seen before. Sainz looked incredibly up for a fight in this race. It was clear that this was noticed by fans, as Sainz was voted Driver of the Day in Bahrain and deservedly so. While the podium would have been very sweet for Sainz, he would have loved the fact that he was able to overtake his teammate twice in the race. Leclerc has often been the faster driver over one lap, but Sainz showed his racecraft and maneuverability in tight spaces. It is important to mention that Leclerc was struggling for large parts of the race. The Monegasque driver had brake issues for a lot of the race and it caused him to lock up multiple times. In total, Leclerc ran off the track with brake issues 6 times, one of those allowing Perez past him. However, after the race, we have found out that Sainz was struggling with a similar issue for most of the race. Sainz said, "So it was always a balancing act between, do I go for it and try to get rid of the dirty air and overtake people, or do I start saving my brakes because they're going to fail or something's going to happen?" It seems like Sainz was just able to control his brakes a lot better than his teammate was able to. Sainz will be thrilled that he had a brilliant result in the first race of the season and he showed a lot of teams why he should be in Formula 1 in 2025. Now, you would think that Sainz picking up a podium in the first race of the season can only be a positive for Ferrari, but the Scuderia will not be completely thrilled. This off-season was a clear indication that Ferrari believe Leclerc is their future world champion, and they don't think Sainz can compete at that level. They will have wanted Leclerc to clearly establish himself as the better driver out of the two. While Charles has been faster in the last 2 seasons, it has not been a huge margin between the two. The team might be concerned about their future if the guy they decide to let go beats out the guy they gave a huge extension to. Even during the race, Ferrari were looking to promote Leclerc. They gave him the undercut in the first round of pit stops, but that didn't stop Sainz from overtaking his teammate quickly after those pit stops. When Sainz was behind his teammate, he mentioned to his race engineer that he had more pace and was ignored by the team. When Carlos made a move past his teammate, it wasn't with the approval of his teammate. He took the position, even getting close to making contact with his teammate the first time around. While it is only one race, I'm sure Ferrari will be a little bit concerned about their Spanish driver for the rest of the season. Making the announcement about Lewis Hamilton before the season means Ferrari have to put up with a disgruntled driver for the rest of the season. It is completely reasonable for Sainz to not be thinking about the team the rest of the year and focusing more on himself. There is a good chance that Sainz might not have made those moves past his teammate if he was going to be the driver for Ferrari next season. Maybe he would have considered the team a little bit more if the team had showed some faith in him. This sort of relationship is going to make things very difficult for team principal Frederick Vasseur for the rest of the season. Sainz is going to be trying to secure a drive for the next season and will be desperate to stay with a top team. So when he needs to be a team player, Sainz will be thinking more about himself. Vasseur will also be thinking about how he can secure second place and put the team in the best position to win in the future. How involved will Sainz be with the development and progression of the car when he doesn't have a future with the team? So this surprise pace from Sainz could end up being a bad thing for Ferrari. If Sainz continues this aggressive and fast racing, then the pressure is only going to build on Charles Leclerc. Since he debuted in Formula 1 in 2018, Leclerc was seen as a future world champion who was going to contend for a title very soon after his move to Ferrari. We are yet to see Leclerc make that step up everyone had hoped for. He's won just 3 races in his last 4 seasons in the sport and has not been close to title contention in any season. Despite that, Ferrari still very much see the 26-year-old as the future of this team and the man who will return them to championship-winning ways. The contract extension he was given in the off-season is one of the biggest in Formula 1 history. The pressure is on for Leclerc for the rest of the season. With how fast Red Bull and Max Verstappen looked in the first race of the year, the pressure won't as much be for Leclerc to win races. Instead, he needs to validate the decision made by Ferrari and beat his teammate comfortably. Leclerc will also want to show the incoming Lewis Hamilton that he's not going to step aside and be the second choice for Ferrari in 2025. There is a lot of pressure on Leclerc moving forward, and you have to expect he will rise to that challenge. 4th is not a bad result, considering the brake issues that Leclerc had, but he needs to start racking up the podiums this year to ease some of the pressure that's going to be on Ferrari. What do you think about Carlos Sainz laying down the gauntlet, and do you think that he will get a top seed for 2025? Why not put your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're down there, hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.